Okay, I'm here with Dr Washington Sanchez, who's from Glorious Water, the water quality specialists, and we're going to talk a bit today about water testing and quality of water. Hi Washington.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Would you like to tell us a bit about your background?
My background. I have a diverse background, but my main qualifications are in analytical chemistry. I have a bachelor's degree from Monash University. I have a master's degree from QUT and a PhD from QUT. Now, both of those two degrees from QUT are very diverse in the way that it was conducted. It is analytical chemistry, but it's also medical emphasis to it. And that put me on a very good position to understand how drugs interact with metabolisms of human body, vets, animals like horses, dogs, etc. So that was part of the studies that I conducted for my PhD.
Wow, okay, that's really interesting.
So, but my life in science started way back in 1981. Before that, I was working in engineering. So I used to build bridges and tunnels and all sorts of things. But I had an accident. I crushed my hand, which recovered. But that led me to kind of go a different pathway. And so I decided to go back to studies, and that took a process, but eventually I managed to complete those. So I've spent some 12, 14 years studying, working at the same time and raising a family. So, it's quite a diverse study. But back in 81, I was doing water treatment and doing Legionnaires control in Victoria. Corrosion control, cooling towers, all that kind of work. And that's how I started in water quality. From then on, it went on to treat water from groundwater that was coming in from deep geological areas that were very hot. And so we needed to cool it, needed to soften the water, and then filter it and process it and have it ready for both animals and human consumption. So that was in South Australia. I did a bit of work on that. I did a lot of consultancy in that area as well. As well as that, I've done a lot of consulting work for environmental issues. So part of my analytical chemistry, my undergrad in Monash, was analytical chemistry and environmental science. So, but I kind of lean a lot more on my analytical chemistry, which led me on a different path. I was at a crossroads. Do I go environmental 100%, or do I go analytical, kind of medical kind of side? And I very passionate on several things: health and quality of living. So I chose the analytical health-related pathway rather than the environmental. But either one, I'm passionate about both of them.
Maybe you'd like to tell us a bit more about your business, Glorious
Sure.
Water.
About 3 years ago, I've been doing consulting work, but about 3 years ago, I decided that spending time on dark rooms, doing analysis with microscopes, etc., for prolonged hours, I had enough of it. So, and I do enjoy working outdoors. So I've started, it was in 2019 that I decided that we were going to start a business. And so we were in the planning stages, then COVID hit. But we decided to go ahead anyhow, and we started at the beginning of the pandemic. We started our business, Glorious Water, mainly because I realized that my own drinking water at home, I live on Mount Glorious, hence the name Glorious Water. Our own drinking water had some issues. I had corrosion issues in the house. Having a shower, I see all this blue coming out, and
wow.
The tannin in the water from the eucalyptus trees around the house. I mean, we are completely surrounded by trees. And all these things, the failing of the existing filters that were in the house, so I had to reconsider everything. So I fixed my water. With my background, okay, no problems, I can fix this. I fixed mine. One of my neighbors became pregnant, and she asked me to have a look at her water, so I helped her with her water. And that's how Glorious Water kind of began, and that's what the whole idea of starting, the business. And so I remember posting it for the first time on Mountain Folks, posting, hey, this is what I'm doing. And within 5 minutes, I had 5 people that say, yes, please test our water. And so, yeah, that was the genesis of Glorious Water. And now I cover areas as far as Byron Bay, and as down south, and up north I go up to Gympie, Maryborough. So I cover a big area, to Toowoomba, a lot of customers down that way. So I look after those areas, making sure that the water is good, clean, bacteria-free. It is neutralized, so it's not acidic. So, if there's tannins, we can treat those. I cover all those areas. I'm very passionate about. What I always tell my clients is, once I treat your water and you begin to use our water the way I treat it, you're going to become a water snob. And lo and behold, they all become water snobs. They even carry their own water to the restaurants whenever they go out. So, I do that too.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's not surprising these days with
Yeah.
what's in it. And it's actually really good to know that we have a business like this in close to us in Sanford Valley, because a lot of people don't know where to go to get their water tested. And, there's often pollution events happening and people don't know
All
where
sorts
to
of
go.
things happens, yes. Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on what's been happening with the fire ant baiting?
Concerning because the two compounds being used are not meant to be released in the waterways, especially in areas where there are, very interesting, unique fauna and flora. But it really affects more the fauna, the crustaceans, and I believe that we have some very unique crustaceans in the area. It's not going to kill them straight away, right? I look at, let me say this at the onset. I'm passionate about water, but I'm also very detached emotionally when it comes to talk about these things. I look at the data, look at the science, and I try and keep my cool on that area, because science is science and emotions are a completely different kettle of fish. And you cannot use both of them and mix them together and lose your cool and your head when it comes to the data. But what we say that these compounds that they use on the fire ant treatment do not kill the animals outright. They're not that poisonous, but they do disrupt the ability to reproduce, which long term causes the demise. And it, depending on how concentrated it is in the water, is how much of an effect it's going to have long term.
Yeah.
Now, these chemicals that are used in pyroproxyfen and methoprim have a very short half-life compared to other compounds, but they're long enough to cause some problems. And not only that, once they break, they make these other metabolites that can actually be more detrimental to the fauna than the parent compound. And so having it in the water is not ideal. The concentrations are significant for long term, but not to eradicate or to kill immediately. That's not going to happen. So that's my concern. My concern is what's going to happen 2 months, 3 months. We are at the stages where these compounds probably going to last a little bit longer because of the temperature. We are in a cold period. Had we been in summer, then the breakdown is a lot faster than winter and low temperatures. And I mean, low temperatures. We've been experiencing some pretty low temperatures, and they've been saying it's been one of the coldest winters in a long time, in over a decade. So that is against us in the sense, well, when I say against us, is against the breakdown of the molecules that are responsible for the control of fire ants. I lived with fire ants as a child in South America. I know how they behave. They can be very aggressive, yes, but we should not fear them. I survived. I'm here. I kicked them out and I survived. And you know, we had it in our home, we had it in our property. Whenever we saw the signs, my dad looked after it. And you know, we used natural and other concoctions, and we got rid of. Once you push them from an area, they don't come back. So controlling them, it's a difficult thing, but at the same time it can be achieved. But how you approach it is very important for our local environment. Remember, fire ants are an introduced species. Trying to use a method that is not natural to our environment can be detrimental to our environment, and that is my concern.
I think that's all our concerns at the moment. And also it's like a double whammy with the water, it being so cold at the moment, because it means that the fire ants aren't even foraging from their own...
You're not going to see a lot of ant activity at this time of the year.
So we're having all this chemical dropped in our environment, and the ants, if there were any here, are not even active.
I can understand the thinking. If we spray now, there's no rain, so it means that the food's going to be available, but they're not as active. So you know, there is a lot of pros and cons as to the timing of the. It's not spraying; it's distributing the pellets.
That's right.
The bait. Let me use the correct terminology. It's a bait, and it does break down with time. It releases some oils and so on and so forth. So there is a lot happening with the bait that is being used, and the timing and the location where it's sprayed. If you spray it on the side of a hill, or you distribute it on the side of a hill, let me use the correct terminology, and you have a rain event, that water will run down back into a valley, and if there is a creek there, it's going to contaminate that creek, and that's basically what we're seeing in this situation. Now, I don't test the sample directly. I like to be independent because I live in the community, I chose to be independent from that. The equipment that is being used for analysis, it's sophisticated. Gas chromatography with mass spectrometry combined, and the extraction of the compounds is done by liquid extraction. It's called solid liquid extraction. The lab that we've been using is the forensics laboratory, or the arm of Queensland Health.
You can't get much more independent than that.
You can't get more independent, and you cannot get a more sound laboratory than that. I tried a couple of other laboratories that I normally use. They decided they didn't want to test it. They didn't have the capabilities and not the time to do it.
Wow, that's
so
interesting.
they just say, no, look, we normally send it to, and they send me to a couple of other labs, and I go, because I was looking for a good independent lab. And so the two ones that I chose, they both send me and refer me to the forensics analytical arm of Queensland Health. I spoke to the director, and they said, yes, we can do this, and they're doing so. The Sanford community here that engaged me to do this are not the only ones. There is other communities that are engaging me for the same thing. And I'm not only looking at water, but also be looking at soil and other aspects that people are concerned. Different areas have different concerns. And so we have a unique situation here where we have a unique species in the area, and that's the main concern, I guess. There may be other concerns, but to me that was what was expressed. We worry about this, and that's what I'm looking at. So I look at it very coldly. These are the results. This is what we collected. This is the results, and I'll leave it up to the independent lab to go ahead and do the test. I'm not involved at all on that, so I'm totally independent on that. I just receive the data, look at it, and interpret it and pass it on.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And in your report, I noticed that you have said the levels that were detected were alarmingly high.
Yeah, they're a lot higher than. Look, I looked at a report from Europe. Similar situation where they were spraying near a river, and they had problems with very individual, not individual, but unique species in the water, and they were concerned about it, and they went up to a level that is so ridiculously low that was allowed in the water, that it's parts per trillion. Right now, the results we got is parts per billion, 81, and the maximum allowed in Europe is 10 parts per trillion.
Oh wow! So not even the 0.04 that you've got.
Yeah, it's a lot lower.
Wow.
So, given that they have such a low level, I thought, well, that's pretty high. And then I had a look at the Queensland Health levels for PAHs, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, which these compounds fall under, and they also are in the parts per trillion levels for water, for drinking.
Wow, okay.
So if for a human consumption is that low, maximum allowed in the water, then, it is concerning that we have 81 parts per billion and 3.3 parts per billion.
Yeah, and one that was in South Pine River that we tested, it had already rained there that afternoon as well.
Yeah.
So
when you also, this is the other thing, when we collect the samples, where we collect the samples is very important. If for example, there is an area where the water tends to concentrate for a longer period, it pools, then that concentration remains high for a longer period. But if you have a flash of water running through, that flashes it through and it takes it downriver.
Yeah.
Right. This is the South Pine River area, and that takes it all the way out to the bay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Port Phillip Bay. I'm thinking I'm back in Victoria, and I've been here for over 25 years now.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And that's why I go. Oh, it goes down the river down to Port Phillip Bay. No, it's not going down to Port Phillip Bay. It goes down to Moreton Bay.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's got a long way to travel. By the time it gets further downstream, completely diluted, and it will be much lower than 10 parts per nanograms, which is parts per trillion.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
But up here, where it has been actually applied, it is high.
Yeah, that is very high.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've just moved spots down to the South Pine River, and we're just going to talk a bit more about the water quality down here.
Well, I'm glad that I came down here and had a look at the water. If you look at the water down here, it's nice, crystal clear. It looks pristine. It almost invites you to drink it. I wouldn't, because even though it's clear and it's clean, you don't know what sort of pollutants it may pick up on the way down here. You have a major road down the back here, there's fumes, there's gas being created, and they're all lying in the water. So it would always pick up some pollutants. So even though it's pristine, it's good, for human consumption, you probably need to do something about it before you can drink it. But it's very good quality water. It's free flowing, it's been aerated, picking up a lot of oxygen, which is good. So there's no stagnation, and there's no untoward smells like sulfur smells and the like. So I would say that this is a healthy tributary to Moreton Bay. I like it, it's good, it's clean, and there's nothing untoward as far as the eye can see. taking a sample and testing it is a totally different thing, as we have shown on the samples that were collected further upstream, where the baiting was being carried out. So that showed that yes, there was plenty of it. Down here, if I collect a sample today, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be zero, none, because it has broken down, it's flowing, and it has been dispersed already. There's not much more I can say about how peaceful it is out here.
I know, it's so
such
beautiful.
A great place to be and to bring your kids and enjoy the water. I mean, you know, good temperature, there's no algae, there's no growth, and everything looks good. There's nothing that says, don't touch me.
I know, and I guess for me as a local that lives here, it's most upsetting that to see all those baits in the creek further upstream when that happened. And you know, my children actually swim here and play here, so you know, it's really important that we keep our waterways healthy for everyone.
If you're always concerned about water quality, do a test. Especially if you depend on either bore or rainwater. There's no legislation that says you need to test it. I wish there were, because a lot of people drink water that is not treated, not filtered, and end up getting contaminations such as E. coli, Salmonella, Giardia, and any other protozoa-like organisms. They do come around because a bird may carry it from further afield and lands and defecates on your gutter, on your roof, and it gets into your tank, and there you have a problem. So if you're ever concerned, you know, please feel free to call me. Yeah,
well, we will certainly be recommending your services to anyone who's reaching out to ask us where they can get their water tested, and especially after these broad-scale baiting events that are happening all around southeast Queensland, not just Samford Valley, but you know, from Caboolture to the Gold Coast, Lockyer Valley, anyone that needs.
Yes, it's keeping me busy.
Yeah, I bet it is, and you definitely service all those areas, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I say, you know, I go all the way from Byron Bay up to Maryborough. I got clients up in Maryborough that you know, have fixed their water quality issues. Every house, every location, even if they're next door neighbors, the conditions are different. The roof types, the tank types, the amount of water used, etc. You know, I do an analysis, and then I do a recommendation based on the analysis of that water, you know, sample. So I'm very passionate about water, and sometimes it shows through. But at the same time, I keep a level-headed approach, and I let the science speak for itself. What people do with the information, it's up to the individual. But you know, I will express the water quality as it is from a scientific point of view, and I really enjoy helping people enjoy good quality water quality in their lives. You know, not just drinking, but cooking, growing vegetables, etc. So
and it's so important that we do have healthy water.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's not necessarily you can always see the problem in the water. So I'm just going to take a quick shot of the pan of this area here to show how beautiful it is. And
absolutely
it's just absolutely pristine looking water here. So
one more thing. Very shortly, I will be releasing a book that I've been writing.
Wow.
It's called Water.
Wow. What else could it be?
Water quality. It's how to manage your water tank, your bore water, even your town water.
Right.
There are people that are not happy with the fact that they're adding fluorides and so forth. And so you can actually do something about it. In my book, I'll explain the different layers. When it comes to bore water, the different layers and different types of aquifers, so on and so forth. It's coming out very shortly.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'll keep
Well,
everybody posted.
yeah, and we will too. We'll be very interested to take a look at that. But no, thank you so much for talking to me today and explaining everything. And the people of Sanford, we're very grateful that you were able to run those tests for us and arrange for the independent laboratory.
It's my pleasure. I really enjoy doing what I do. And what better place to wrap up on here.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.